Hi, this is Family Wellness Coach Angelle Batten from angellebatten.com. Congratulations. I am so happy that you are prioritizing your family's health and happiness by participating in my 8-step Feed Your Family Healthier program. And I'm really honored and I'm excited that I get to support you through the process. So week one, let's get started. So in this first PowerPoint video, there are a few things we're going to be going over. I want to make sure to give you an overview of what I call bump it up. So when I say bump it up, which you'll be hearing me say a lot, I want to make sure you understand what I'm talking about. And I'll go through an analogy with you, but really the bottom line is that food is our fuel. So we'll talk through that analogy, and it's one that you can use yourself, but also with your family to help them better understand why you're making the changes that you are trying to make or that you are making. And also, I'm going to talk through my 3 categories: real food, bridging food, and fake food. And this is just a really easy system that you can use to help you make the next best choice for your family on any given day when it comes to feeding your family. And it's also a great system to teach your family so that they also can make better choices and that you have this common language in place. It makes it less likely that you as the mom have to do a lot of lecturing. So let's get started. Food represents so many things in our lives, right? Love, comfort, community, joy, sometimes guilt, sometimes shame. We're talking about, though, today, the fact that at the cellular level, food is information. And way too frequently, our children's bodies and our own bodies are getting the wrong information from all of the nutrient depleted, highly processed foods. When your body's hungry, it wants nutrients, not calories. So we want to remember that. And we also need to think about the fact that all food is not created equally. Let's look at an apple. Let's say we have this apple. If it's local and organic and in season, wow, that's amazing. But just take 100 calories from an apple. It has phytonutrients, so these plant-based nutrients that give it its gorgeous color, and then it has fiber, it has vitamins, it has minerals. I think of an apple and a lot of produce as cleansing food, so it gives the body certain information from the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, fiber, and take 100 calories of that and compare it to 100 calories of chicken. So chicken's going to have some powerful protein in it, and if it's a really good quality chicken, it'll have some friendly fat along with some vitamins and things, but it's a different food. It gives the body different information. I think of the chicken as more of a building food. Then we have 100 calories from our Oreo Thin Crisps. So I used to be an Oreo loving girl back in the day. But they definitely give the body different information, different from the apple, different from the chicken. And unlike the apple and the chicken, they give the body ingredients and hence information that it really can't use to build health. So it will the ingredients in something like a 100 calorie pack of Oreo Thin Crisps will contribute to inflammation in the body and will contribute to, spiking blood sugar and insulin and other issues. So again, 3 different foods, 100 calories of each, but they're not created equally. And food doesn't all give your body the right information. So we want to start thinking about that. A lot of times our kids are hungry and we think, we just need to kind of fill them up, get some food in them. We just want to be thinking about the fact that, again, food gives the body information. So we don't just want to fill them up. We want to give them good food, good fuel for the body. So this next slide, I want to introduce an analogy that I use, and I use this with preschool kids on up through high school kids and adults. And I usually just start out by saying, hey, what if your mom or dad needed to go run some errands, but their car was sitting in the driveway and it was on empty, and they didn't really feel like going to the gas station. They didn't really want to spend the money or the time, so they decided to pull the hose around from the side of the house and just fill up the gas tank with water. And this is where my little friends, their eyes get wide, and somebody always says, it's going to blow up, it's going to blow up. And the older kids look at me and kind of roll their eyes at me. But I follow through with the analogy and say, it's water, comes out of a hose, it's liquid, it's transparent. It should be, it should be okay in a gas-powered car, right? And Then we talk about the fact that water is not the right fuel for the car. It's not, even though it looks similar, it's not the right fuel for the car. So the car, while it may not blow up, depending on how much water gets in the tank, it could be spurting and sputtering. It's not going to run smoothly. And there's some issues that are probably going to happen as a result of putting the wrong fuel in the tank. Well, that's what's happening in our bodies every day. That we have these, sort of food-like substances. We have this stuff that looks like food on the grocery store shelf or at restaurants or at school, but it's not really the right fuel for us because it is not necessarily made of real food. It doesn't really give our bodies the right information. So while we're not going to blow up, we do end up spurting and sputtering if we eat too much of the wrong fuel consistently. So what that looks like when we're spurting and sputtering, it looks like allergies or eczema, or it can be struggling with weight, or it can look like a lot of fatigue or chronic earaches or infections, flus and colds, all kinds of things. When the body is struggling with chronic symptoms or maybe different symptoms but frequently, that's our body spurting and sputtering because one of the reasons that happens is that it's not getting the right fuel to run smoothly. So this is a really simple analogy, and kids really understand it, and it kind of cements this idea that food is more than, it's for more than just filling up our stomach. It's for more than just having fun with it. I mean, that's all good, but we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves the right fuel. So at the bottom of your screen, you see the T2T, which is my symbol for time to teach. This is an invitation for you to teach something to your family. So I really would suggest that you use this fuel analogy with your child, with your whole family, your spouse, just to help them understand that food fuels the body. And connect it with whatever's motivating, because just like high powered fuel or high quality fuel in a gasoline powered car will help it run better, more smoothly, more quickly, whatever that is, the same is true with fuel that we put in our bodies. So it will help us run more smoothly. It will help us be our best selves. And sometimes little kids are motivated by being strong and fast, and older kids might be motivated by their appearance or their sports performance or their achievement in school, their ability to focus. So, we want to make sure that we're making the connection for them in terms of food being fuel that will help us be our best selves. Now, I have 3 categories of food, and you can use the traffic light analogy, which maybe is not new in terms of thinking about food. Green light food, yellow light, red light food. I call those categories fake food. That's our red light food, our food that we want to really stop eating as much as possible. And we have our yellow light food, which is my bridging category. Those are foods we want to slow down on. They're not optimal, but they're definitely better than the fake foods. And then our green light foods, or the real foods, those are our go foods or our grow foods. So with kids, depending on their age, you can use real, bridging, fake. You can always use red, yellow, green. You can use grow food and woe food. So there's lots of different ways, but I do suggest that you use some language with your kids. And I always tell older kids, this is not too babyish. This is actually used by professional sports organizations. They use the traffic light analogy to help the players make better choices about how they're fueling their body. So it's just a way to help us think about making better choices. So let's look at the categories, because this is how we can start thinking about bumping it up. When I say bump it up, I'm talking about bumping up the quality of the foods that we eat on a regular basis. So we want to be bumping up the quality of the foods so that most of them are in the real food category. And real food, let's take an apple. Back to our apple. If we have an apple, it has the fiber, it has phytonutrients, it has vitamins and minerals. If it's organic, that would be great, because then it doesn't have the toxins that the body has to deal with, that our bodies have to store or have to somehow get rid of, because they aren't really good fuel for the body. So if we have the organic, local apple, put that in our real food category. In the bridging category, I have a Larabar and some organic applesauce. In the fake food category, I also have some applesauce and a bar. So let's talk about why I put these particular foods in the categories I put them in. So the Larabar, I love the Larabar website. I mean, the ingredients are listed in pictures. How cool is that? You actually just can see that the Larabar, this one has, dates and almonds and apples and walnuts and raisins and cinnamon. And then, this particular organic applesauce has apples in it, and I think it had some vitamin C in it, maybe some cinnamon. So they're bridging foods. They bridge the gap between fake food and real food. They're processed in a way that they lose some of their nutritional value, but they're still the ingredients are still recognizable. So with this applesauce, when they make this particular product, you lose the fiber and some of the phytonutrients when they peel the apple. When it's heated and pasteurized, you lose some of the enzymes that you get when you eat the raw apple. With the Larabar, you need some highly concentrated fruit, so it's more concentrated fruit with all the dates, and so a little bit higher in sugars. But also the nuts and seeds they're not prepared optimally for best digestion and for most nutrition, and we'll be talking about that more in the future, especially with nuts and seeds and grains and legumes, how you prepare them optimally. So that's why these two foods are in the bridging category. I mean, definitely they are an option that I think is fine, but you wouldn't want to only eat the applesauce, for example, and never eat the apple. Now let's look at the Nutri-Grain bar. It's in the fake food category for me because first of all, look at the list of ingredients. They're pretty long. It's a pretty long list. And when I look at the ingredients, I see things like enriched flour. I see soybean and canola oil. I see carrageenan. I see other, ingredients that are pretty chemically sounding names. So red flags for me. They're red flags because they don't sound like real food. They don't sound like something that comes from a garden or comes from a farm. And so I know that these bars, despite the front of the package, it looks really nice. Nutri-Grain, more of the whole grains your body needs, and it has a picture of apples and cinnamon. But what I know is that when I flip the package over and read the ingredients, I have this long list and there's a lot of red flags there. So it's in the fake food category because it doesn't give our body good information. It actually has some ingredients that are harmful. Now the applesauce, this particular brand, Mott's, has a short list of ingredients, but the second one is high fructose corn syrup. And so high fructose corn syrup is a red flag ingredient. It actually interferes with the message between the brain and the stomach about when we are full and when we should stop eating. It's also metabolized in the liver differently than regular sugar. The liver does not like it. It is connected with metabolic syndrome, and often it is from genetically modified corn. So there's just lots of issues, and that's why it is a red flag ingredient, and it makes this particular applesauce, it puts it in the fake food category. Now, if I were to make my own applesauce at home, which sometimes I do, I just, core some apples, throw them in the Vitamix, and add some cinnamon, maybe a little bit of water, blend it up. It still has the peel. The peel's still there. It hasn't been heated, so I haven't destroyed the enzymes. So actually, applesauce could fall in all three categories. It really just depends on how it's processed, how it's made, and what additional ingredients have been added. So 3 categories of food. So we have, again, the fake food, bridging food, and real food. You'll see the T2T at the bottom, so time to teach. After you teach your family the fuel analogy, I want you to start teaching them this traffic light analogy. Teach your whole family the traffic light analogy. Start using the language in your home because it makes it a lot easier to talk about food, and it makes it less likely that you're going to have to lecture so much. So I know, like for me at the grocery store, my kids know this analogy, and so they'll pick something up and say, "Hey, Mom, can we get this?" And I will say, "Well, what, is it fake food? Is it bridging food? Is it real food?" And they can look at the label. And they're pretty clear now, and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, she's not going to buy this for us because it has some kind of a red flag ingredient." So this just kind of makes talking about food a little bit easier, and we just have this common language. So whether you use red light, yellow light, green light, fake, bridging or real, or with really little kids, sometimes I'll use grow food or whoa food and put my hand up like a whoa. So it's just, we start to have this common language, a common understanding, and it makes it the learning process easier. So even if it feels a little bit sort of cheesy, artificial for you to use these analogies or this language, just give it a try. Have fun with it. Get out some construction paper, red, yellow, and green. Visually show, the example, for instance, of the apple and the two different kinds of applesauce, and kind of talk about those. So again, just kind of laying this foundation. So work on that this week. Start thinking yourself as you're noticing foods, and I know you'll be going through the next couple of videos, and we'll talk about label reading, and we'll talk about red flag ingredients and a couple other things. And I want you to start thinking about where certain foods that your family eats fall. And then as the program goes on, we're really going to dive more deeply into this and look at, animal foods, and which animal food products are in the real food category, which are in the fake food category, which are in the bridging category. And we'll go through dairy products and non-dairy, the alternatives to dairy, and we'll look at nuts and seeds and legumes and grains and produce, and we'll kind of really go a little deeper into where different foods fall. But for now, I really want you to have this sort of foundation about what I mean when I'm talking about bumping up the quality of our food. Bump it up. Let's eat more bridging and real food. All right, any questions about this or any comments, any confusion, please use the Facebook group. Ask questions, share ideas, thoughts. That's what it's there for. I'll be in there, every day, and, answering questions, problem solving, celebrating successes with you. So I look forward to seeing you over there after you watch this week's video and go through the videos and go through the material.